Good evening. I just wanted to introduce a family member that I discovered recently on a GED match. My name is Desire Joseph Katihabwa, born in Burundi, currently in Scotland, and my family member, my cousin, lives in the US.
That's right.
So you and I met on GED Match, the genealogy website where you had registered your kit. Do you mind telling me which company you did your DNA with? I did mine with 23andMe.
I originally did my testing with ancestry.com, and I've done another test with Family Tree DNA, I think.
Okay, okay.
But my goal has been to, ironically, my goal has not been to find folk from Africa because,
Yeah,
and we can get into this, that is so abstract in
yes,
my mind
yes.
that it wasn't even an initial goal. Ancestry.com has a huge database of African Americans, and that's
Mhm,
where I was looking.
mhm,
So it figures that once I actually escape that bubble, so
mhm,
to speak, and go to
mhm.
GED match,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
African finds me.
Just for the audience, I wanna sort of like share my screen with your permission, just to show them what we mean by GED Match. It's a genealogy website where you can register. They don't do DNA tests, but what they do, they you can transfer the data from the initial organization where you did your test, and then they can do sort of like matching of other kits to yours. You can sort of try to understand the population admixture based on your DNA. So I'm going to share my screen just to show the first comparison that I did. My kit, obviously Desiree, Joseph.
And
Uh,
while you're pulling that up, I would just like to stress the point that we're on two different services, two different major services that don't talk to each other. They don't share information. We
yes,
could have been strangers for another 100 years
yes, yes,
if we're
absolutely,
blessed, cursed to live that long, and
absolutely.
we would never see each other. So this is a way to
Yes.
bring them together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is my kit. Desiree, and then obviously the mom. So as you can see, we match like 19. There's 19 shared segments, and we have an estimated generation of 3.4 between your mom and myself. So what really motivated you to do your DNA test? Because for me, I did my DNA test wanting to understand more my health. So just to see whether there's anything I have inherited from my parents, because obviously I've had a couple of health issues. Um, to be quite honest, I was not, because I was not knowledgeable in terms of DNA. I was very, very sure I was going to be mapped as 100% Burundi. That's how ignorant I was. Um,
100% Burundi.
yes,
Burundi
yes.
is a modern construct compared to Africa's DNA.
Yes. I mean, if I share my screen again, I'm gonna show you how my map looks on basically the ancestry estimation in terms of what they estimate to be my the people that I resemble, and it's really, 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 really broad. Um, you know, it doesn't seem to move. Okay, we're gonna switch to family tree DNA, so you can see these are all the places where they estimate I may have had an ancestor. So you can see Little Burundi here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can see Rwanda, you can see Uganda. So they estimate all this area that I must have had an ancestor. So there's Kenya, there's Tanzania. Um, what really motivated you to start looking at DNA?
Well, it for me, it was largely about identity.
Mm-hmm.
Part of being an African or being of the African diaspora
Mm-hmm.
is a knowledge, unless you're ignorant,
Mm-hmm.
that the rest of the world, to a great extent, has or did see huge wealth to and power to attain by controlling our resources.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been very easy for me to have this us versus them concept, not so much of the world, but just sort of like my place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that there's great diversity in my family,
Mm-hmm.
there is this odd tension or friction between the simplistic us versus them
Mm-hmm.
and well, if I'm like them, then who am I?
Yes.
Or if they're like me, then how can there be a them versus me if I'm like them?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was sort of knowing how I have an education, obviously, about the United States and how the Americas were populated in colonialism and how that ravaged Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that somewhere in there was this story that included something perfectly sensible about how I came to be.
Yeah.
How my self-concept was, like the egg that it was hatched out of.
Yeah.
And also I felt that it was my destiny to give my family a sense of identity, history and attachment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at your map and I look at my own map of Africa, and I'm mostly from the West Coast, with a strange concentration in the South.
Yes.
That I believe comes from my father, but the rest is more equatorial, western side.
Yes, it's so basically in terms of the migration, there was a lot of migration. There's what they called the Bantu migration. So people came from like Nigeria and Cameroon. They went down East Africa, and they continued down to Southern Africa. If you look at it's because I remember you were saying that you have a paternal haplogroup A, and I also have a paternal haplogroup A, A1, B1, and A118. So if you look at the ancient history of this particular haplogroup, you have that sort of A moving to west of Africa, southern of Africa, crossing into northern of Africa and beyond. So there is a lot of history where, if they may say that you've been mapped as Equatorial Guinea or something like that, but you must remember that they were moving a lot, and there was a lot of movement from west down to east and then to southern Africa. But also this haplogroup A, the starting point was actually this haplogroup A, just around the regions of Ethiopia, and they were just populating. Really? Yes, they were just populating West Africa, going down to Southern Africa, and also Northern Africa, crossing into the Middle East. So, it's a lot of history. I know that for my mom haplogroup, which is LOA, they showed me migrations to places like Mozambique, which was formerly held by the Portuguese. And then you see a lot of movement down to Southern Africa. But, even though I was born in Burundi, my mom was born in Burundi, there's that history of migration. But tell me more about your mom. Going back maybe 200 years ago, before she was born. Have you always been like in America, or some of her family came from other places? I want to know more about this, the family
Right.
background.
So we have yet to figure out whether we're related by way of my mother's maternal or paternal side.
Yes.
I'll just say my grandfather's side is more of a mystery to me.
Mm-hmm.
They were very certainly less mixed. They are more pure African than my mother's maternal side.
Okay.
My mother's maternal side, part of that group, they were free people that came in from what's now Haiti.
Okay.
And my guess is that we're not related through them.
Mm-hmm.
The most reasonable explanation for our connection is through the slave trade.
Yes.
So the free people shouldn't be them, right?
Yes.
So that would be my mother's maternal, let's say my mother's maternal side.
Okay.
My grandmother's paternal side, they were known to have been enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother's paternal side, we know little about them. But what we do know is that they are related to a group of people. In the United States, we don't use the term tribe, but essentially their tribe is what's called the Gullah Geechee people.
Oh, Gullah Geechee people. Okay.
Gullah Geechee people. And the Gullah Geechee people, they were brought here in the slave trade, but by one way or another, they became free.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved out into the coastal islands that white folk didn't dare go into because they would get dragged into the swamps by the natives. So there were only native people out there, and any blacks that could escape the plantations would go off into those islands. And those islands were essentially like little African islands or Caribbean islands. The language is a patois of English and Western Central African. It's notably, put it this way, it sounds more like the way Jamaicans speak than the way mainland Americans speak. So I would not be surprised if we were connected through my mother's paternal side through those Gullah Geechee folk.
Okay.
Because the time period with 3.4 generations between yourself and my mother, that puts the connection somewhere in the early to mid 1800s. Last point, my mother's maternal folk, we know they were here already. We know what cities they were in already, whether they were enslaved or not. We know where they were from. So I'm thinking that it might be my mother's father's people.
Do you have you got like any history, like records of the first generation, either your paternal side or maternal side, who were taken to the US or Haiti during the slave trade? You have no record of that. Okay. So I was quite interested.
That's a zero.
Today, earlier on, you were asking whether the ethnic Tutsis and Hutu are Bantu. It's something I've tried to basically study for a while because, me, frankly, I do not see any difference because for tribes to be different, even though they're all Africans, they have to speak a different language. They have to have different customs and different traditions. But in terms of language, we speak the same language. The Hutus and Tutsis of Rwanda and Burundi, we all speak the same language. There's a couple of scientists who tried to use DNA as means to prove or disprove whether there's any difference between Hutus and Tutsis. They they couldn't find any. So, you know,
isn't it
what
mostly
I do know
lifestyle,
is that,
like pastoralist, shepherds versus hunter-gatherer type,
okay, so
living off the land? Isn't it something like that?
The missionaries, they're the first ones who you know, brought in this divisive ideology to really separate the people living in Burundi and Rwanda.
God and
But
guns.
they were saying that the Tutsis are probably people who came from Abyssinia, which is current Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, yeah.
And they were saying that the Hutus are Bantu, who came from, you know, places like Congo.
Deep, mysterious Africa
Yes.
that we don't know.
Yes, but
I
you know,
see how they're doing it. Yeah.
But it's there's no scientific evidence to support that there's any difference, any genetic difference. We all Africans, but obviously because so many years have passed with the wrong teachings in place, some people still believe that we are different. The other day, I had a DNA match whose mom contacted me. All along, she's believed that she's an ethnic Hutu. And, you know, going back by the definition of the missionaries, you know, the Tutsis is Ethiopia origin. And, you know, she said, but I found some Ethiopia DNA markers in my results. And so she was like shocked. She was like, we are all the same. They've been dividing us and we're all the same. You know, you know, I found matches in places, the same places they claim where the Hutus came from. I found lots of matches there. You know, Nigeria, Ghana, Congo, like the most ancient times. You know, even if in terms of archaeology DNA, I found a lot of matches from all these places. So for me, I wanted to understand whether your grandparents on both your parents' side, whether you've ever heard anything about a possible place where the ancestors came from, you know, before going to places like Haiti and stuff. No. So tell me more about what you know about Burundi or Rwanda, or ask any questions.
Before I get to that,
Mhm.
I'm fascinated that you would ask me that question.
Yes.
Not because, I mean, it's kind of like obvious. Well, where are you from? That's what all this is about. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
to an African American,
Mhm.
that is an absurd question.
Mhm.
It's not that I resent it. It's
Yes.
not that I do not understand it. In context, again, that's what all of this is about. Where are you from?
Yes.
But we have no idea where
Mm.
we're from.
Yeah.
I mean, when I ask the average African where they're from, they say their country, they might say their tribe or ethnic group.
Mhm.
Or if they're not quite sure, like if it's a young kid, they usually talk about the region or some sort of, they have a concept. Even if they're several generations removed, like their grandparents moved here in the 50s or something. They all have a very keen sense of what their food tastes like.
Yes.
You know, or whether they pronounce their R's, you know, like
Yes.
New York or New York.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Things like, or whether they come from a Britain-dominated or Portuguese-dominated, Spanish or French.
Yes.
They all have a sense. Cousin, what I'm saying is we African Americans,
yes,
we all know we're African American or we call ourselves Black, okay? But we have no idea whatsoever where we come from back in the old place.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You know, me personally,
Nothing.
I was very moved to find African American matches, Caribbean matches, because all the history we've always had in Burundi, we heard that the ancestors resisted the slave traders, particularly the Arab slave traders who came from Zanzibar. In fact, Rwanda and Burundi are said to be the only countries in the region who resisted the slave trade. So for me to discover that they were part of my family who were taken away to the Americas and to the Caribbean was it was almost like the same shock we've had when you heard that some of your family had been killed in Burundi during the ethnic conflict. It was almost like reliving the same pain we've lived through the Civil War.
So let me say this.
Yeah.
When the troubles over there happened, when did they end? In the early 90s, right?
Yes, 1990s. Yes, 1990s.
Yeah,
but in Burundi, it's like episodes. But the biggest was around 1972, but also 1993 when the Hutu president was assassinated. Yes.
So I was born in 71. So I remember in the end of high school, I graduated in 89. I was starting to read in magazines that there was just tension.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, that's over there. That has little to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked up that it had something to do with the colonial impact as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, that has everything to do with me. But I couldn't put it together at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I wasn't even sure if that should be my concern because it's over there. And
yeah.
I don't know. So then things really started going crazy. And just from a humanitarian point of view, many Americans, especially Black Americans, were really captivated. Like, wow, we don't have a sense of identity to the point that we may shoot each other because we don't recognize each other as the same.
Yeah.
But then we think we're not all the same.
Yeah.
But then we look at over there and we say those people are all the same.
Yeah.
Why do they think that they're not the same?
For me, I have what they call the survivor's guilt syndrome, where you sort of wonder, why did I survive and not the others? But particularly in 1994, in Burundi, there was a majority Tutsi army in Burundi, whereas in Rwanda, it was the other way around, because the Tutsis were exiled in Rwanda in 1959, and most of them, fled to Burundi, Congo, Uganda, Kenya, and beyond. So me, as a young teenager, I kept seeing children coming from Rwanda with all these, sort of marks on their heads and things like that. And I sort of wondered, why is it that the army is not intervening? Because that was my logic. And up to today, I still have that guilt to ask, why is it that we did not intervene? But yet, we had a Tutsi army,
It's tribalism, man. It's tribalism. When I was in the United States seeing what was going on in your country, I had to decide, is that me or is that them?
Yeah. And also, I also remember like way before 1994, the genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. Like in 93, I remember very well that there were French military in Burundi. They had a base. There was US Marines in thousands. And I was sort of like wondering, why is it that there's all these military, but next door there are people being killed and no one wants to do anything about it? So that's why I used to literally feel guilt, even if I had nothing to do with it, to not even attend the commemoration of the Rwandans, because I was like, how do they look at us? We didn't do anything to help them. Even the Rwandan refugees, the Rwandan Tutsi refugees who lived in Burundi from 59, under a Tutsi-led government in Burundi, they were discriminated. They were discriminated in Burundi. So there was that double guilt. But then I started just being passionate about, what is it that we can do to educate the people, make them realize that we are all family, literally the same family, so that we move beyond that divisionism, so that we see, that fellow man as our family member. You and I, we've been separated by generations. But the connection we have when we connect with each other, just knowing that we have a common ancestor somewhere, is a powerful, powerful tool. How much more if you live in the same country and you feel you're different when you're not even different. But in school, did you learn anything about the slave trade? Because I remember as a child, we used to watch a lot of documentaries and movies about the slave trade, how they were treated inside America. We used to watch a lot about stories about the civil rights movements. This is when I was a kid. I used to be glued on the TV. I guess that's why I became a bit political in my thinking, because I was exposed to something that was so far away, but I felt connected for some reason.
In American schooling that I think was fairly typical up until through the mid 90s, they didn't teach any of it.
Wow.
None of it. They might have mentioned the Civil War and slavery. Yeah, it was fought over slavery because the South wanted to have slavery. But that was basically it. There was a lot of talk about, you asked about school. There was very little that was taught about slavery, about the international conspiracy that was the slave trade. There's more taught about European colonialism, but really just to explain that the United States started off as that. It wasn't really about, did you know that the Algerians are being complicated in this way, or that the people from the Congo have this legacy of these. Do you ever hear about the Belgians and what they did? No, they never taught us about any of that.
So what do you know up to now? What do you know about countries like Congo? Because Congo historically has been exploited, abused, and also used as a center for the gathering of the elite to exploit and to profit.
Well, when I think of Congo, I can't even think of Congo without the word Belgium there. Like Congo shouldn't be defined as that place that used to be colonized by the Belgians. But because of that, when I think of Congo, I first think of the colonial episode. It was so atrocious. I was never taught any of it in grade school, high school, college. Nothing. It was not acknowledged at all. It was sort of like we got the impression that slavery happened, but it wasn't perpetrated. It occurred, but it wasn't done. It was like this. It was bad. It wasn't. These were slavery's evils. These are the mechanics, the international mechanics of the slave trade, or this is how European feudalism was extended into areas outside of Europe, and the all essences of nobility and aristocracy. It just became property and the people who are enriched by it. Like that fusion or that lineage of old European ways to new world ways was never discussed on a human level.
So basically, the King of Belgium,
Leopold.
I am aware that Belgium has started like a truth commission.
Yeah, how about payment?
With the goal to sort of look at the legacy of colonialism and all of that. Even a member of the royal family has really done a lot of discussions saying, we have to sort of see how we can talk to each other and move towards reparation. Even reparation was talked about. Yes,
Oh?
yes. So the abuse starts. The Portuguese were actually the first one to access Congo. And they occupied Congo for, I'm not sure for how many generations, but they soon moved into slave trade, combining the territories of the Kingdom of Angola at the time. And then the King of Belgium, Leopold II, who was a cousin to the Queen of England,
Victoria.
Queen
And
Victoria.
Tsar Nicholas, I think.
Yeah. So he declared that the Congo was his personal property.
Of course, why not?
And he started just exploiting rubber. So he was getting people to work on his plantations, and whoever didn't collect enough rubber, he would ask hands to be chopped and to be shipped to Belgium so that he can count the hands himself.
I'm familiar with that.
So when the European countries learned about this abuse, guess what? They wanted to prosecute the king at the International Criminal Court. But he was very clever. He said, no, it's okay. You want a piece of the cake? You join me. So this is when they start to talk about the 1884 Berlin Conference. This is the scramble of Africa, conference. I believe this marks, of course, there's the Portuguese time, there's the Arabs as well who conquered that region way before, who did a lot of damage, like in Zanzibar and Tanzania. But I believe this 1884 Benin Conference, the root of most ethnic conflict in Africa are probably found at this particular period of history. So if you've seen Congo on your DNA results, there could be that history of Angola and Congo with the Portuguese. But what I'm thinking is, now that there's all these talks of year of return, African Americans, Caribbeans are reconnecting with the African continent. How is it that we as a people can sort of like reverse the misfortune of the past and the misfortune of the present too? Because the abuse
I don't think
continues.
you can reverse it.
With the Congo, for example, the Belgian king occupied Congo for more than 200 years. I think there was an estimated 10 million people who died. 10 million people in those times. There was an African World War that occurred in Congo, again over resources, and it's not long ago. Like, we're talking about 1990s. So what do we do as a people, as descendants of the continent, as sons and daughters of the continent? What is key? What would you like to see?
Well, okay, so I don't think that anything can be reversed. Mm-hmm. I think that the future can be reframed. Mm-hmm. and that resources can be coordinated that are currently not organized at all. What happened, happened. And what happened needs to be defined more and taught. I won't even say taught more, because here in the USA, it was just not even acknowledged. I remember in 7th grade, that was Miss Schneider. I remember these details. I said, Miss Schneider, it would be nice if we could get some Black history taught around here. This is 8th grade. And she said, I teach American history. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that African Americans are part of that American history.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really no way for a 13-year-old to get through a tenured scholar's mind when that scholar thinks that, well, American history is this, and whatever you Black people think is, you can think whatever you want, but we teach American history here.
Mm-hmm.
That mindset is probably still very common here, but it's not acceptable to think that way here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a great opportunity now that did not exist in some years past.
Yeah.
Like those Belgians are now sort of thinking, there's no escaping this. We have to acknowledge it. Here in the United States, there is a growing sentiment that, we at least need to start acknowledging this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you mentioned Bundi and such. So I just pulled up my information on ancestry.com, and I am 27%. It says Cameroon, Congo,
yes,
and Western Bantu people.
Yes.
That is my number one ethnic group.
Yes. So that's our link. I believe this is our link, because I have ancestors who were Congolese, who came from Congo, going back generations and generations. I've only discovered it while doing the research, using DNA, archaeological DNA, and also sort of trying to round up, when you have a match, they say he's your first cousin, second, and most of them, were sort of around the same period. So they're rounding up just around 1807 as a possible time when I had an ancestor who was full Congolese. And they do the same with other countries, they estimate. So it's, but Congo is, I always say that in order for you to really understand the modern injustices lived by Africa, Congo is like a summary of all kinds of abuse that have gone absolutely unchallenged. No, it's not unchallenged as such. People are screaming, people are doing activism, but the abuse continues. And that's a country that could be the food basket of the continent. It could create jobs for all of Africa, but for some reason, to maintain it under poor leadership benefits the corporation.
Well, you destabilize the people and they can't fight back.
Yes, absolutely. But do you get a sense that have you had like a lot of matches from Africa on your DNA matches, or no? No.
Nope. In ancestry.com, I've never met an African, not one.
Okay.
All my connections are
Caribbean,
African Americans, or they're European Americans.
Okay. But you've never had any matches from the Caribbean at all, or Jamaica, St. Vincent? Wow. So I'm literally at your first African match.
And I don't think that we're connected by way of my Haitian people, because those were free people.
Yeah, yeah.
Just as a quick story there, the way Haiti, which used to be called Saint-Domingue, the way it happened was, well, first of all, it was set up from the beginning to be a slave plantation island. Okay. And it was on the French side, the French military expeditions, essentially, a mixture between military and capitalist corporate, the same thing that happened back in Africa. Governments and militaries and corporations were the same thing, basically. But anyway, what they did was they sent, in addition to the planters who had the money to set up the plantations, they sent the naval armadas. So essentially, you had a bunch of sailors, let's just say young men who want to make babies with the local population, because there were no French women on the island other than the few planters' families. Okay. So if you weren't a rich planter, you were a soldier or a sailor, and then you would run off the base and go make some babies out with the people out in the hills. That was fine at first. Good distraction for the French soldier guys, right? But then 25 years later, 40 years later, you've got this emerging group of mixed people, and you can't enslave them. But you're not about to give them full rights. They're not soldiers or sailors, and they're definitely not the rich planter people. So these people became problematic. So my people left what's now Haiti in very late 1700s, probably the 1790s. This is right before the revolution. So these people were mixed. In the American census, they were listed as mulatto. Okay. And they were very specifically going to tell people, we're mixed. You can't enslave us. So the French the French back in what's now Haiti were happy, like, go, please leave, please get out of here. Because they didn't want my people contributing to the revolution. So those people were typically mixed, and they went to Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay. These are all, or were at least, heavily French Black Catholic. And when we say Black, that's from the American perspective, where one drop of African makes you not white. So you're Black. Okay. From a Haitian perspective, they were definitely gens de couleur and not Black or white. Okay. So there is this whole tribalism, classism thing that happened. And that explains why my people left the island of Saint-Domingue or Haiti and moved, in my mother's people's case, to Charleston and to Savannah, Georgia. Okay. But then there's also my mother's father's people, who were the Gullah Geechee people, who none of them were dropped off in those islands. They escaped from the mainland into those islands. But those people typically were there from well before the mid 1800s. So I'm wondering if it's not my mother's father's people, and if it's not my mother's maternal line, maybe it's my mother's paternal line, the Charleston people. So they're the people we have very little understanding, except we know that there was one French man in there, Blanchard. His name was Blanchard. We don't know much about him, but anyway, where did these people come from exactly? It's hard to tell, but I have a theory that it's either the Gullah Geechee people or maybe the French connection through my mother's paternal side.
Wow, that's really, really fascinating. I'd love to have someone like from the side of your mom's family, like do a talk sometimes and
Yeah, but
we
I'm the one
ask,
who knows this stuff. They don't know this
oh,
stuff.
they don't know. Oh, okay, so they
Oh,
haven't
okay.
done history research.
Well, okay. So it's yes, and mostly no. So in 1984, I think it was, I would have been 13 years old.
Mhm.
We had the family reunion of all family reunions. We
Yeah,
still talk about it.
yeah.
We still talk about this. There's been two
Yeah,
or
yeah,
three others since then,
yeah.
but we're saying this was the family reunion when everyone from who was born like from 1910 to year 1980
Mhm,
was
mhm.
there. Okay, so there was all kinds of generations. There were people there that were born in 1910, and they remembered that their neighbors. Oh yeah, Susie next door, she was enslaved. Or old Jack, yeah, he used to tell us what it was like on the plantation. You know, people from my generation don't have any of those people in our memory. You know, but my grandmother's generation, they all knew someone old who had been enslaved. It was common, right? So we had this family reunion, and at that family reunion, my grandmother's sister, my aunt Jane, she presented a family history. It was a little pamphlet, and it was the most um, organized document that described where we came from.
Yeah.
And it was the document that I then used. I started it again, the history research in 2010. It was on my mother's birthday, and it was 2010. And my mother said, you know, you've been talking about this a few months. You did DNA tests and such. Remember that family reunion and that little pamphlet that your Aunt Jane put together? I said, yes. I said, if only if I had that right now, that would be helpful. She's like, let me go get it. I have it. So there were certain keys to the story that I would have never been able to get from my mother's memory.
Mhm.
Since then, however, it's been myself leading the way.
The, mm,
And
it-
I have like
the,
6,000 people in my family tree now, but most of them are
wow.
not my direct lineage. They're my cousins' family trees all combined into mine. My family
6,000.
tree is like this tall,
Mhm.
this tall, but this wide, you know?
It's insane. So you have family photos of all those, like your great grandparents. You have photos and things like
Some,
that.
some.
Some.
I have I have a photograph. Let's see. Obviously, myself, my parents. We're just going to do my mother's side since that's where we're related anyway. So myself, my mother, my grandmother, my grandmother's parents. Yes,
Yeah.
we had a photograph of my great grandmother's father that disappeared, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We have like three photographs
Yeah.
of people beyond my grandmother's generation. That's it.
Wow.
You have to understand, we weren't
Amazing.
allowed to have any of this stuff. We were in
Yeah.
chains. We were in bondage.
Yeah.
We were not even allowed to know what our names were. My
It's really
my
insane.
my 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 mother's my grandmother's my maternal grandmother's maiden name is King. Her father's name was King, but we have no idea who his father was. So my great grandfather, I don't know. He
Yeah.
was some white man named King. That's
Mm.
all I know. And we
It's
weren't
just
supposed to
amazing.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't supposed to know. It was the white people didn't want us to know. They didn't claim us. They just made us,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
And if people can be uh, confused or abstracted from their lineage, they can be controlled.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a huge hunger from African Americans to take it back to Africa. Some of us travel back to Africa.
Mhm.
And some of us are very satisfied with that. And then other people are even more confused because once they get back to Africa, first of all, they realize that they're Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not Africans. They're
Yeah.
Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they don't realize that until they go back to the continent. And then they also, to the extent that they're Africans, they're not just from one area in Africa. Most of us African Americans were from 5, 6, 10 different groups in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I see results from friends. They say, I'm Tanzanian. I'm like, yeah, maybe part. You know, your finger is, but what about your toe?
Yeah.
So, for instance, I'm 25% Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu.
Yeah.
Then the next major group is from Mali. And then the next major group is from England and Northwest Europe.
Okay.
What? And then underneath that, it's Nigeria. And then underneath Nigeria, it's Norway. Then France, then Scotland, then like South American Indian, then Welsh, and then Turkish. By the time we get to the Turkish level, we're down to like 1%. Okay, so mostly it's Western Bantu people, Mali, Benin, Togo, Norway. I mean Nigeria. In terms of the African, Norway is definitely not in Africa.
No, it's fascinating. So it's just trying to interpret like your DNA and trying to see, you know, because there's certain genetic makeup in certain population, like the hunter-gatherers of the Khoisan from
that would be a group A.
Yeah, so the Botswana, they live in Botswana, South Africa, Namibia. They identified some of my DNA as Khoisan. So even though the history of the haplogroup of my paternal haplogroup and also my maternal haplogroup, Khoisan came up a lot.
Well, my father's paternal haplogroup is A1B, I think.
A1B.
And
yeah.
That's Khoisan.
Mine is A1B1 M1, yeah, M118. And if you check where you find some of this haplogroup, you know, the A1B1, you'll be very, very surprised. I'm gonna share my screen with you.
Before you do, my mother's maternal group is M. So where did they come from? They're from like Arabia or something.
Oh, Arabia. Because my maternal haplogroup, you know, you can find like a migration pattern of a haplogroup. They start with Yemen. So this is my mom's up. They start with Yemen and then they cross into the Horn of Africa and they continue up to the southern of Africa.
Well, my mother's haplogroup seems to be from areas of Africa where none of my DNA is from. The DNA is all from equatorial down to south, and it's mostly from the west. Whereas group M is from the north, like Algeria and Morocco and up there, it seems.
Yeah. If you look at so you can see like this haplogroup, you see that it's been found in South Africa, you know, haplogroup A.
Yes.
So, and then you can see this map of the distribution of that haplogroup.
I see.
You see? There's the 5%. I think this is around like Mali, right? My geography is so bad, but you can see the distribution of the haplogroup A all across Africa.
But my A is from my father's side that we're not related through. So my A and your A shouldn't be relevant to each other.
I know it's, DNA has a lot of surprises.
It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. But if you look at all the regions where you find that haplogroup A, so you find the Kenya, you find Tanzania, Cameroon, DRC, again, Congo, Eastern DRC, and they're even very, very precise, Eastern DRC. Yeah, among the group of Hema and the Mbuti. Mbuti comes up a lot on my DNA results. And
yeah,
then
I got an idea.
You have North Africa, Horn of Africa, which covers Amhara in Ethiopia, the Oromo, and then even the Ethiopian Jews. They have a haplogroup A.
Really?
Yes. Beta Israel is
Beta
the
Israel,
Ethiopian Jews. Yeah. And then you also have Asia, among the Turks, Palestinian, Jordanian, and Yemen.
Wild.
Yeah, it's really, you also see Europe, so this haplogroup A is really, it's quite mixed. It's quite mixed. So Cypriot, as you can see. But I remember on the history of the haplogroup, he also mentioned that it's also found like among African Americans, at least like 1% of African Americans have that haplogroup.
That narrows things down a lot.
Yeah, it's really, really mind-boggling. But if you look at my my maternal haplogroup, which is LOA, it's even more interesting. So I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay.
So you look at the haplogroup A. So mine is LOA, so it's like a child of LO. Again, Khoisan comes up.
Yeah, it's the same area, same territory.
I think my dad and mom are related somewhere because they all seem to have a lot of common. So you can see Tanzania again. The Sandawe also comes up on my paternal haplo. Sandawe are like the hunter-gatherers of Tanzania. You have Ethiopia again. You have Yemen again. So they're quite similar. They're quite similar.
Yep.
But this particular one it's more like Africa, I think. Even though you can see that you can see a little bit of Europe here.
Oh no, that's definitely concentrated in Africa.
Yeah.
Very southern too.
Yeah. It's very southern. But you can see Mozambique. There was Portuguese influence in Mozambique, so a lot of slave trade going on there. Guinea again, and Mbuti. You saw the same thing with the haplogroup A, and Biaka from Central African Republic. So I don't know. There seems to be like quite similar history with haplogroup A and haplogroup LO.
Interesting.
And they are all said to be one of the oldest men and women.
So, yeah, definitely.
So we'll figure out. We'll figure it out. With more technology, we'll be able to pinpoint. But it's been great, like sharing. We should do more talks like this, and feel free to ask me questions about Burundi and Congo.
What I really want to do is isolate which part of my tree and yours overlap. It's definitely my mother's side, but what part of her tree? Because you asked me, like, do I know, is there any family lore about our origins and such before the Americas? And there's not, but I do have certain clues, where my grandfather's people were and where the different, like, for instance, Savannah versus Charleston, South Carolina. They're close to each other, but different people moved to one city or the other city because they had somewhat different factors. So if we can figure out that you're part of this branch or this branch, we can look at the reasons why people made the decision to go to this group, this area or this area, and we can theorize that was part of the story.
You said that your mom's haplo is M?
Yeah, pretty sure it's M1. My mother's
M1. Okay.
My mother's maternal haplogroup M1. Yeah, mtDNA M1.
Let's have a look together. Let me just share. So it's a Eurasian and African haplo.
It's one of the least African haplogroups. There's a theory that there was an out of Africa into Arabia. And then there's also a from Arabia back into North Africa. There's two theories.
You can see, the lineage have been found in Northwest Africa and Near East, but is absent in East Africa, which is where I was born. But quite present in Arabia.
So if my mother's maternal haplogroup is not shared with your people, that could point to the tie being with my mother's paternal folk, the Gullah Geechee people.
Yeah. Have you tried the admixture on GEDmatch?
I've done a little bit of it, but I've not learned anything that stuck as part of my theory.
Have you looked at the Eurogenes K36?
No.
Should we try to do it?
I'll do whatever. Show me what to do, man. Sure.
So I go to Eurogenes and I enter your mom's kit.
Wait, we'll go where? I'm on GEDmatch.com. Where am I supposed to be going?
So I'm just sharing my screen. Let's see what comes up under K36.
Okay.
Just to give you an admixture sort of idea. So it's searching again.
I haven't been on this site in 2 years. It looks very different than what I remember.
Yes, it's been updated. The site has been updated.
You can teach me how to use it.
Absolutely. I'm an expert on GEDmatch. So you can see.
Excellent.
So you do see the East African. French.
This is my mother?
Yeah, this is your mother. Okay. So she's got a large portion of her ancestry in West Africa. So it's quite interesting, because if I do mine, it shows. Let me show you. I have even uploaded my daughter. In fact, we should do a comparison of my daughter too. So if I use the same K36, so it will show you more results around East Africa. So you see? So it's a larger portion of East Africa.
That orange slice there is still pretty big, though. That was dominant in my mother's plot.
Yeah, but I also have 12% West Africa.
Right, yeah.
It's 26% Northeast African, 41% East Africa,
That northeast part
and
is
the Arabian too.
conspicuously missing from my mother's, or at least I'm looking on Ancestry from my own background. The northeast isn't there much. For me, it's more western.
Yeah,
not even north.
There's a relation between the people of Southern Africa and East Africa with the people of West Africa. But the theory is because the oldest woman and the oldest man started in East Africa, they were just populating all these areas. And then there was another migration later on of people from West Africa going to East Africa, down to Southern Africa, and some also crossing into Northern Africa. I don't know whether you've come across African Americans matching like the ancient king of Egypt.
Let me tell you something. The delusional fantasy of every other African American is to find out that they were related to some Egyptian pharaoh, or some Nubian king. In fact, there is this non-scientific, mystical thing that we make fun of, and we call it we was kangs.
We was kangs.
we was kangs. Like everyone is so sure that they were royalty. No one was ever a farmer. Everyone was a king or a prince.
I was very, 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 very disappointed that I did not match that king of Egypt, but only matched like a priest of Egypt.
Hey, that's cool though.
A priest, not a prince.
Priest. Yeah.
So
that's cool.
It's still not bad. It's still not bad.
It's better than digging ditches.
In fact, before we finish, I was gonna share the archaeological DNA. So this doesn't look at modern population, but it looks at data sourced from people who were excavated from different sites.
Yep.
So if I look at these results, so this Abeomorisian is an ancient sample which is found just around Mauritania and Morocco. And they also match me with South Africa. This is 775 AD.
This is GED match again?
No, this is another.
This is my ancestry.
Like research, archaeological genetics.
Oh, yes.
And I also have Cameroon. You said that you have Cameroon on your results.
Yes, that's my #1 group. Cameroon, Congo, Western Bantu people.
Yeah, so you have 1,200 BC. The other quite interesting one was this Philistine. So in order for you to understand like who do they relate in terms of modern population?
The Palestinians.
I just click on close modern population. So you see Tunisian, Algerian Jewish, Mozambique Berber, so they are pastoralist. Maltese, can you imagine Maltese?
Maltese?
Yes.
That's Italian.
Italian, yeah. And you also have Italian Jewish, you have Algerian, you have Tunisian Jewish again, and Moroccan. So this is the sample that I've been matched with.
And that is basically the sort of people that should have a haplogroup M, or that's the area where M would be found. Yes,
that's what I was thinking. That's what I wanted to show you. But if you look at all the other samples, archaeological, really looking at ancient population. So like the modern population I'm similar to is like the Maasai, who are like the pastoralists.
Yeah.
The Sandau, who are
they're in Kenya.
Kenya and Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Sandawe, who are hunter-gatherers.
Okay.
They live mainly in Tanzania. And then you have the Lemba, who have always claimed to be one of the ancient tribe of Israel. Again, saying that they've heard from their grandparents that they migrated, they fled Israel and they crossed into Yemen, and then Yemen down to Ethiopia, East Africa, down to Zimbabwe, where they live currently. When they first made those claims, particularly the conservative Jewish community, they were very skeptical. But they did DNA test, and he matched some of the ancient priests.
Wow.
Ancient priests. This is Kohanim DNA.
Wow.
You know, but they're Bantu. They are Bantu people. So that just goes to show that there's a lot of complexities when it comes to like history. So you also have the Biaka who live in Central African Republic.
Okay.
Then you have the Ethiopian, the Hadza, who are hunter-gatherers from Tanzania. The Bantu, again, Ethiopian Jewish, which I think is a match of haplogroup A. So, you know, you get like a map similar to this, where you have people who are close to you. This will be the blue. And in the most distant, they've also found like matches.
Fascinating.
Like the Lumbe tribe, I have no idea how this is possible. You know, Puerto Rican, Libyan, Palestinian. So that just goes to show that whoever thinks they are one thing that they think they know,
forget about it.
Forget about it, man. You know, it's it's insane.
We're all mixed.
We all mixed, absolutely mixed. You know, and I'm very, very proud of all these results, because this just goes to show, if all people were to do their DNA, trust me, you could hardly find one population that's just one thing, you know?
If anybody shows me that they're pure one thing, I'm going to look at them and say, that's why you seem so inbred. Because otherwise, you can't be a healthy human being and be pure anything. It's impossible.
Yeah. So you can even see, I have Congo in some of the ancient samples. Where did I see it? Let's go down. So I've got Tanzania, I've got Kenya, I've got Botswana, which will be the Khoisan. And then I have Kindoki, which was the ancient kingdom of Congo. And the genetic distance is 5. You know,
centimorgans?
Genetic distance is 5.
Okay. Well, but what's the metric? What's the unit? Genetic distance marked in what unit?
So like we're talking about like 1750 AD. So so they compare my kit with this ancient sample,
right?
And then they count. So basically, 5 generations ago,
generation?
I had someone from this kingdom.
I understand.
From Congo, and then you also see this early colonial Mexico City slave trade victim.
Whoa.
This is 1472 AD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane.
Wild.
It's insane.
All right, listen, dude. We have to figure out what part of the tree we connected. That's the major thing. Absolutely. There's all these tools to tell us in a micro level what could be, but Absolutely. There's a big thing. This Absolutely. Side or this side. That's Absolutely. That's what we got to figure out.
Absolutely.
I have some DNA results from people from my mother's family that are not connected to my grandfather. So we can look to see if there's anything shared. If there's shared,
yes,
we know you're connected this side. If not, to this side.
Absolutely. But it's so exciting. You know, we could talk the whole day. but honestly, it's been a pleasure. Let's continue the conversation. You know, let's talk culture, history, family. Let's talk about plans too. Plans of
sure,
what we can do as you know, reconnected group of family all spread across the globe.
And I would
I
like to
see.
almost develop a somewhat of a curriculum even for the
Yes.
kids. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
we
Yes.
might have grown up with when we started when out, we had no idea that eventually we would get any answers.
Yes.
But now
Yes.
we're getting answers. And wouldn't it be
Yes.
wonderful if the kids grew up even thinking, well, of course I know that I'm connected to this or that. Doesn't
Yes.
everybody?
Yes. Yes. I was so amazed today. You know, my kid is autistic, but I was so amazed. Her artistic skills like is improving every single day, and she comes up with stuff, you know, that's just mind blowing. Today she showed me that she did uh, like a short clip movie with titles of her name and her toys and in a way that's so artistic. You know, she even knew how to use Flash, you know, to jot in like a title and she just does all this funny stuff. And I'm like, no one taught her that, you know. She creates
What?
content on YouTube. She creates content on Instagram. Now she just created a video clip with words and titles, all of that on her own. So I know that if all of these materials that we're putting together, I know that sometime my daughter's gonna go back and say, I'm gonna create a film about my family.
Imagine what it
Yeah,
could inspire,
yeah.
something as powerful as where
Yes,
she comes from. That
yes,
that could turn into a whole new body of art or research or whatever.
absolutely, absolutely. You know,
It'll be great.
so it's been great, and let's continue the conversation.
All right, my man.
All right, you take care.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. You do the same. Have a
all
good
right.
night.